All right. Looks like we're diving deep today into couples and money, huh?
Yeah. Looks like it.
The sources, all revolve around how couples not only manage their finances, but how they navigate those those money conversations that can be a little tricky.
Right.
So we've got Ramit Sethi's book, Money for Couples, plus a few episodes of his YouTube show, I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Okay.
Should be interesting.
It is interesting you chose this topic, actually, because, so many couples have a hard time merging their financial lives.
Right.
And it's not always just about the numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's the emotions and communication that really come into play. And I think Sethi, in his work, really gets to the heart of that.
Yeah, he's not just giving budgeting tips.
Right.
He's really diving into the psychology behind our financial decisions.
Exactly.
I want to start with a big idea from his book. He talks about this rich life vision as a couple. Mm-hmm. What does that even mean?
So it's about going beyond just setting financial goals, right? We want to have X amount of dollars in the bank.
Right.
It's about, identifying what are your values and experiences that you want to share as a couple.
Oh, okay.
Really kind of painting that picture of what a fulfilling life looks like for both of you. Mm-hmm. And that requires sometimes some pretty deep, conversations and soul searching.
Yeah, and I imagine those conversations could be challenging.
For sure.
Money is often such a taboo topic.
Yeah.
And even couples who are really, deeply connected in other ways might really struggle to talk about it openly and honestly.
Totally.
Does Sethi offer any insight into why these conversations go so wrong?
He does.
Okay.
And, and keep in mind, he's worked with thousands of couples on this, so he's seen it all.
Right.
One common pitfall that he sees is that couples just avoid the topic altogether. And then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum where couples are constantly fighting about every little purchase.
Ooh, yeah.
He also sees a lot of situations where one partner becomes kind of overly controlling with the money, right?
Yeah.
Which, obviously leads to resentment and power imbalances.
It really makes you wonder why something, so seemingly practical as money can be so emotionally charged.
Yeah, well, that's one of the most fascinating things I think about Sethi's approach, is that he really emphasizes that money is deeply emotional, right?
Yeah.
And it's often tied to our childhood experiences, our past relationships, and all sorts of baggage that we bring into our partnerships.
That makes sense. We saw that play out in one of the YouTube episodes you shared, right? The one with Alexis, who overspent on her son and really avoided talking about finances with her partner.
Yeah, exactly. And for Alexis, it was all rooted in her past. Mm. She felt like money was always something that was needed from her, both growing up and in previous relationships.
Right.
So it created this pattern of overgiving and financial avoidance that really kind of spilled over into her current partnership.
Yeah, this idea that our past experiences create these unconscious money patterns is really fascinating, but how do we break free from them? How do we start creating healthier financial dynamics in our relationships?
Well, that's where Sethi strategies come in.
Yeah.
He offers some really, I think, insightful solutions in his book.
Okay.
And one of the biggest myths that he tackles is this 50-50 trap.
Oh, okay.
It's this pervasive idea that couples should split everything equally, regardless of their income disparity.
I could see how that could cause some problems, especially if one partner makes significantly more than the other.
Yeah.
Would it create a sense of dependency or resentment?
Totally, yeah. The lower earning partner might feel, really stretched thin, resentful, while the higher earner could feel like, they're carrying an unfair burden.
Yeah.
And it can make it difficult to save for shared goals, make major financial decisions together.
Makes sense.
And balance of power.
Okay, so if the 50-50 split isn't the answer, what does Sethi recommend?
So he suggests two main alternatives.
Okay.
One is, proportional contributions, where each partner contributes a percentage of their income towards shared expenses.
Okay.
The other is a joint account system with individual no questions asked funds.
Oh, I'm really intrigued by this no questions asked concept.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Can you give us an example of how that might work in practice? Did any of the couples in the YouTube episodes use that?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was this couple, Nate and Serena, where Serena actually earned significantly more than Nate. And they decided to, each contribute a set percentage of their income to cover their shared expenses.
Okay.
So this way, they both felt like they were contributing fairly.
Right.
And it really helped ease, that financial strain on Nate.
It's about finding a system that feels fair and sustainable for both partners.
Totally.
It sounds like, Sethi is encouraging couples to kind of think outside the box and create solutions that fit their own unique circumstances.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I find refreshing about his approach is that he doesn't shy away from discussing the financial realities of couples from, all walks of life, including, some who are actually quite wealthy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he shows us that even millionaires struggle with communication and make, some surprising financial missteps.
Totally. Millionaires make mistakes too,
Yeah, you think they'd have it all figured out.
You'd think so, right?
Give us an example. Like, what kind of mistakes are we talking about?
Okay, well, so remember the couple, David and Victoria.
Okay.
So combined net worth, $87 million.
Wow.
But they were constantly arguing over credit card bills.
Really?
It turned out that David had this deep-seated fear of running out of money, which stemmed, all the way back to his childhood.
Okay.
So he was fixated on his checking account balance, even though he had millions of dollars in investments.
Wow.
It was it was fascinating to see how his emotional baggage was really driving their financial decisions, even with all that wealth.
That's a powerful reminder that, our mindset about money is often more important than, our actual net worth.
Right.
But what about luck? Some people just get lucky breaks, right? Winning the lottery or inheriting a fortune.
Yeah, that's true.
How does that factor into the equation? That's
a great question. And it's something that Sethi explores in an episode with this couple, Olivia and Alexis. And, they consider themselves pretty financially successful. Mm-hmm. But when Sethi analyzed their situation, he discovered something, pretty surprising.
Don't leave us hanging. What did he find? What was the secret?
Well, it turned out that most of their wealth actually came from an inheritance.
Yeah.
And some lucky stock gains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they hadn't really developed the skills to manage their money effectively. They were just riding like a wave of good fortune.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the lesson here is don't rely on luck.
Exactly. Luck can be a factor, but it's, unpredictable.
Right.
Unsustainable.
Yeah.
We need to develop, the knowledge and skills to manage our money wisely, regardless of whether we get those lucky breaks or not.
This is all so fascinating, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of, these couples' stories.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm eager to dive a little deeper into their journeys and uncover more insights. What do you say we, take a closer look at Alexis and Olivia's story?
Okay.
And see how they addressed their reliance on luck.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm really struck by how much, our past experiences shape our financial behaviors.
Yeah.
It's like, we carry these invisible scripts from childhood or past relationships that influence how we approach money.
That's a key point. Sethi talks a lot about money stories.
Okay.
Right. These formative experiences that have kind of shaped our beliefs and our behaviors around money.
Right.
And often we're not even aware of them, right?
Yeah.
But they play a huge role in our financial decisions.
So I'm starting to see how understanding those money stories is kind of crucial for couples.
Yeah.
Like if we don't kind of unpack those past experiences, we could be, unconsciously sabotaging our efforts to create the life we want together.
Totally, yeah. And that's why Sethi's such a strong advocate for open and honest communication.
Right.
It's not just about, creating a budget or figuring out who pays for what, right? It's about understanding each other's, values, fears, and aspirations around money and building that shared vision for the future that feels aligned and inspiring for both partners.
That resonates with me, but But let's be real, like talking about money can be so awkward and uncomfortable, especially when those deep-seated fears and insecurities come up.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to have those conversations effectively? Do any of the couples in Sethi's, YouTube series offer any guidance on that?
They do. There's a really powerful moment in the episode with Nate and Serena.
Oh, okay.
The couple that were, navigating that income disparity, right?
Yeah.
Where Serena earns significantly more than Nate.
Yeah. They decided to do the proportional contribution for shared expenses.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, seemed to work really well for them.
Yeah, but what was really insightful, I think, was how Serena connected her therapy work to their financial dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
She realized that just like in relationships, right? Yeah. There are times when one partner needs to support the other more, and vice versa.
Right.
Right. So financially, sometimes one person might need to contribute a little bit more than the other, and that's okay.
That's such a healthy perspective.
Yeah.
So she was able to approach their finances with this, mindset of mutual support and understanding.
Yeah.
Did that shift in thinking change how they talked about money?
It absolutely did.
Oh, wow.
It allowed Nate to kind of express his feelings of, financial stress and inadequacy without feeling judged or shamed.
Right.
And Serena was able to acknowledge his struggles while also kind of reaffirming, her commitment to their partnership.
Yeah.
So it was a beautiful example, I think, of how vulnerability and empathy can create a more supportive and collaborative, financial dynamic.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that finances are just one piece of the puzzle in a relationship, right? It's how we communicate and support each other.
Totally.
Through those challenges.
Yeah.
That really matters most.
Sure.
Speaking of challenges, let's get back to Olivia and Alexis.
Okay, yeah.
We left off on this cliffhanger that their financial success was mostly due to luck, right?
Right.
An inheritance and some lucky stock games. Did they take any steps to kind of gain more control of their finances?
They did, and it wasn't always easy.
Right.
Remember Olivia loved spreadsheets and wanted to have like really open conversations about money.
Right.
While Alexis kind of avoided it at all costs.
Yeah, and she even had like a secret credit card and bank account.
Yes.
That's some serious financial avoidance there.
It was, but Sethi helped them kind of uncover the root of Alexis's aversion to money. You know, it stemmed from her childhood experiences with financial scarcity,
right? And
from past relationships where she had been, kind of taken advantage of financially.
Oh, wow!
So these experiences created these deep-seated fears and insecurities that she kind of carried into her marriage with Olivia.
So how did they begin to address those deep-rooted issues? Did they go to couples therapy or hire a financial advisor?
So Sethi, encouraged Alexis to consider therapy since it had been a long time since she had, professional help.
Right.
But the first step was really creating that safe space, right, for Alexis to share her fears and her vulnerabilities, without feeling judged.
It takes a lot of courage to be that vulnerable, I think, especially when it comes to, something as loaded as money.
Yeah, for sure. But Olivia, stepped up and reassured Alexis that she wasn't, trying to control her or make her feel bad.
Right.
She simply wanted to work together to create a more stable and secure financial future for their family.
That's such a crucial element, right? Like creating that foundation of trust and understanding.
Totally.
So they started communicating more openly, but what about those spending habits?
Yeah.
They were racking up credit card debt and overspending on their son, even though they, technically had millions.
Right. So Sethi challenged them to take a hard look at their spending patterns.
Okay.
Especially those related to their son.
Right.
He pointed out that, they were using their spending to kind of guilt-free spend on him.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to make up for past hardships, but they needed to make sure that those expenditures really aligned with their values and their long-term financial goals.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to overspend on our kids because we want to give them the best.
Yeah.
But how do we draw the line between, generosity
Right.
and overindulgence?
That's a tough question
Yeah.
that a lot of parents grapple with.
Right.
Sethi helped Olivia and Alexis, really see that saying no to certain expenses wasn't about depriving their son.
Okay.
It was about making conscious choices
Right.
that aligned with their values and their financial priorities.
Yeah.
So it's about finding, a sustainable and balanced approach to their family finances.
So they started to kind of tackle their spending habits, have
Yeah.
more open conversations about money. But what about the fact that, most of their wealth came from luck?
Yeah,
Did they ever address that elephant in the room?
they did, and it was a real wake-up call. Sethi helped them realize that relying on luck wasn't a sustainable strategy.
Right.
They needed to develop the skills and the knowledge
Yeah.
to manage their money
Right.
effectively, regardless of whether they got lucky breaks in the future.
That's such an important point, right?
Yeah.
It's not about how much money you have, but about your mindset and the approach that you take when making those, financial decisions.
Totally, it's about taking control
Yeah.
and being proactive.
Yeah. You got it.
Sethi's his approach is all about empowering couples
Yeah.
to do just that, right? Take control of their finances,
Yeah.
communicate effectively, and create a life that feels, rich and fulfilling.
Yeah.
both financially and emotionally.
I love that it feels very empowering.
Yeah.
Speaking of empowerment, let's check back in with David and Victoria.
Oh yeah.
They were the power couple with an $87 million net worth.
Yes. The couple who argued over credit card bills, even though they could easily afford to buy, a small island.
Exactly.
It's a perfect example of how, even with wealth, the emotional dynamics around money can be, can be really challenging.
Exactly. What was their biggest takeaway from working with Sethi?
Yeah.
Were they able to kind of overcome those communication barriers?
They were, and it really boiled down to recognizing that, their separate approach to finances was actually creating unnecessary friction.
Yeah.
And preventing them from fully connecting.
Yeah.
As a couple.
Okay.
They kept their finances very separate, which ultimately led to a lot of misunderstandings and arguments.
Yeah, I remember Victoria was paying their joint credit card bill and then sending David Venmo requests for his half.
Yeah, exactly. It was incredibly awkward.
That sounds incredibly awkward.
And David stressed over those Venmo requests, because he was fixated on his checking account balance, even though, again, he had millions in investments.
Right.
They were both letting, past experiences and money anxieties dictate their behavior.
Right.
They had more than enough resources, but they really struggled with that emotional side of managing their wealth together.
So what did Sethi recommend? Did they finally decide to combine their finances after all that back and forth?
They did.
Okay.
But it wasn't, it wasn't a quick decision.
Yeah.
Sethi helped them see that combining their finances wasn't about giving up their independence.
Right.
Right. It was about creating a more unified, and supportive financial partnership.
Right.
They explored different approaches like proportional contributions, joint accounts with no questions asked funds. It was about finding a system that really honored both their desire for individual autonomy and their need for a shared financial vision.
I'm a big fan of the no questions asked fund.
Yeah.
It seems like a great compromise that allows for both individual freedom and, financial transparency.
Yeah, totally.
Is that the system they chose?
They did.
Okay.
And they also finally got around to signing a postnuptial agreement.
Wow.
Which had been a source of tension for some time.
Oh, wow.
It seems like, working through their financial differences really helped them address, other important legal and relational matters.
Good for them.
Yeah.
It sounds like they finally started, tackling those big picture financial conversations.
Like, for sure.
That had been looming over them for a while.
Yeah.
But what about their day-to-day interactions? Did they manage to stop bickering over small expenses.
Right.
I'm curious how they kind of shifted those patterns.
So they did, and Sethi introduced them to this concept of a worry-free spending limit.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's a predetermined amount that each person can spend without needing to consult their partner or feel guilty.
Yeah.
This really helped them kind of avoid those petty arguments,
right,
and fostered a greater sense of trust and autonomy within their relationship.
It's like giving each person a little breathing room,
exactly,
within the budget.
Yeah.
How did they decide on their spending limits? Was that like a point of contention, or did they reach kind of a comfortable agreement?
It was actually a fairly smooth process. They talked it through, and they agreed on an amount that felt comfortable and aligned with their values.
Okay.
And the beauty of the system, right?
Yeah.
Is that it takes the emotional charge out of those small expenses.
Right.
So they can enjoy their wealth.
Yeah.
Without without constantly worrying about overspending or getting into those arguments about minor purchases.
That's brilliant. It removes that constant need for micromanaging and allows them to focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Did they mention any other changes they made after working with Sethi?
They did.
Okay.
So David, who was previously, fixated on having a low checking account balance.
Right.
He actually committed to keeping a larger sum in his account.
Oh, okay.
To reduce his anxiety around spending.
Right.
And Victoria, who had always kind of taken on the burden of planning their vacations, started inviting David to participate more in the decision-making process.
It seems like they found a way to address both, the psychological and the practical aspects of their money dynamic.
Totally.
It's inspiring to see how they transform their relationship with money from a source of, conflict into a source of connection.
Totally.
So from all these couple stories, what stands out as like the most important lesson you've learned from this deep dive?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that money is a tool,
Okay.
Like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
Right. It's not about how much money you have, but about how you use it to create a life that aligns with your values and brings you joy.
Yeah.
And that requires, open communication, self-awareness, and a willingness to kind of challenge, your assumptions and your ingrained beliefs about money.
Right. Yeah.
It's about recognizing that, money is a powerful force in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to harness that power for positive change.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's about, moving beyond those limiting beliefs and creating a more conscious and intentional relationship with money, both individually and as a couple.
Totally, yeah.
It's inspiring to see how these couples transformed their financial dynamics by embracing vulnerability, empathy, and open communication. And it's a reminder that, that we all have the capacity to do the same.
Absolutely. We all have the power to rewrite our money stories and create, a more abundant and fulfilling financial future for ourselves and our loved ones.
Yeah,
it's about shifting, our perspective from scarcity to abundance and embracing the possibilities that come with a healthy relationship with money.
What a powerful message.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final, thought-provoking question. Yeah. We've seen how, childhood experiences and past relationships can impact our money mindset. But what about the future? Wow. How can we apply what we've learned to create, a more positive and empowering financial legacy for ourselves and for the next generation? Right. Yeah, that's a great question to think about. Yeah. It is empowering to think that we can actually shape our financial futures and create, a positive ripple effect for generations to come. Right. I think it starts with awareness. Okay. By recognizing how our own
money stories and beliefs have shaped our financial lives, we can start to make more conscious and intentional choices.
Right.
We can also model, healthy financial habits for our children, and have open conversations about money. To break those cycles of shame and secrecy.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like so much of this comes back to communication, right?
Totally.
It's about like breaking those taboos and having these, open and honest conversations about money with our partners, our families, even our friends.
Exactly. And it's not just about, talking about the practical aspects of money, like, budgeting or investing.
Yeah.
It's about exploring our values, our dreams, our fears around money.
Right.
When we create that space for vulnerability and understanding, we can build stronger relationships, make financial decisions that really align with our authentic selves.
I love that.
Yeah.
This deep dive has really highlighted, I think, the importance of aligning our finances with our values, right? It's not about, chasing some arbitrary definition of wealth.
Right.
It's about, using money as a tool to create a life that feels, rich and meaningful to us.
Totally. And that's where Sethi's concept of the rich life comes in, right?
Right.
It's about defining, what truly matters to you as a couple, and then using your financial resources to support those aspirations. It's about having that freedom to spend on the things you love, the experiences you crave, the causes you care about.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that that several of the couples in Sethi's YouTube series, created rich life visions that really resonated with you.
Yeah.
Can you share an example?
Yeah. So, remember Nate and Serena. So they realized that their rich life involved prioritizing travel and experiences over material possessions. Right. They were willing to make sacrifices in other areas of their budget to afford those luxurious trips that they both dreamed of.
Right.
So it wasn't about extravagance. It was about aligning their spending with their shared passion.
Right.
For exploration and adventure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful reminder that our, rich life doesn't have to look a certain way.
Exactly.
Right. It's about designing a life that reflects, our unique values and priorities.
Yeah, totally.
What about Olivia and Alexis?
Yeah.
Did they create a rich life vision that, that kind of helped them navigate their financial challenges?
They did. And for them, it really centered around creating a sense of security and stability for their family. They realized that their son's happiness, wasn't tied to expensive activities or material possessions, but to quality time, a loving and supportive home environment, and a sense of financial well-being.
It's heartwarming to see how their rich life vision actually led them to simplify their spending and focus on what truly mattered. It really reinforces this idea that financial well-being isn't about accumulating more stuff.
Right.
It's about creating a life that feels abundant and fulfilling on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And what's so empowering about this concept, right? Yeah. Is that it can be applied to any financial situation.
Right.
Whether you're, struggling to make ends meet or you have millions in the bank.
Yeah.
Defining your rich life gives you that framework for making conscious and intentional decisions about your money.
This has been such an insightful and inspiring deep dive. I feel like we've covered so much ground from, the psychology of money to the power of communication and the importance of, aligning our finances with our values.
Totally.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with, some practical tips for applying these concepts to their own lives.
Great idea. Where should we start?
Well, Sethi talks a lot about, systems and automation. How can couples use those tools to kind of simplify their financial lives and create, more peace of mind?
Automation is a game changer.
Yeah.
It really takes the mental load off.
Right.
And helps you stay on track with your financial goals. So, for example, you can set up automatic transfers to your savings account.
Okay.
You can schedule bill payments in advance.
Right.
You can even automate your investments. Right. So this frees up your time and energy to focus on the things that you truly enjoy.
And it makes so much sense. It's like working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it creates that sense of structure and stability, which I think can be really helpful for couples who are, prone to financial anxiety or conflict.
So sure.
Did any of the couples in the YouTube series use automation to their advantage?
Absolutely. Yeah. So David and Victoria, the power couple, they were able to kind of streamline their finances.
Okay.
And eliminate those pesky Venmo arguments by setting up joint accounts and automating their bill payments.
Yeah.
So this not only simplified their lives,
right,
but it also strengthened their sense of partnership and shared responsibility.
It's inspiring to see how they were able to transform their financial dynamic from a source of friction into a source of connection.
For sure.
Any other practical tips you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, one last thought. I would encourage everyone to schedule regular money dates with their partner, even if it's just for 15 minutes every week.
Yeah.
Just carve out that time to connect, check in on your finances, and make sure that you're both on the same page.
Right.
This can help prevent misunderstandings, resentment, and financial surprises down the road.
I love that idea. It's like a relationship checkup for your finances. Yeah. This deep dive has given us so much to think about, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to take control of their money stories.
Yes.
Define their rich life visions and create financial futures that are both, abundant and fulfilling.
Absolutely. And remember, money is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used to build a life you love. It's up to you to write your own financial story and create a legacy of abundance and well-being for yourself and those you care about.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of money and relationships.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep creating your own rich life story.
Absolutely.